The room was cold. Too cold. Liari lay on the metal table, her body shaking. Her arms were tied, her legs too. She couldn't move. The bright light above her face never turned off. Her eyes hurt, her skin burned, but worst of all, her heart was breaking. She used to dream once. She used to sing. Now she only screamed. But even that had stopped. Her voice was gone. Stolen. Like everything else. The aliens, called the Korlek, had taken her from her home. They said she was useful. They said she would help science. But all they did was hurt her. Every day they poked her, injected her, cut her, shocked her. They put wires into her arms and strange things in her head. They wanted to change her. They called her a test subject, a project. They didn't call her by her name. Only one time, a small alien assistant whispered, "I'm sorry, Liari." But then he never came again. Today felt different. She heard shouting, not in the Korlak language. It was deeper, louder, like thunder wrapped in anger. Then a crash, metal bending, sparks flying, a scream. But not hers this time. Her door opened. She closed her eyes. She waited for pain, but it didn't come. "Is she alive?" a voice said. Thought it wasn't Korlak. It was rough, human, and kind. Liari opened her eyes just a little. A strange figure stood in the doorway. He wore a dark jacket with tears on the sleeves. His hands were covered in blood, but they were shaking. His face had dirt and sweat. His eyes searched the room. Then they found her. "Oh hell," the human whispered, stepping closer. He looked around quickly and pulled a sharp tool from his belt. Liari flinched. "I'm not gonna hurt you," he said, moving to her side. She didn't believe him. She had heard that before. Many times, but this time, something was different. He wasn't wearing a lab coat. He didn't smell like chemicals. And he didn't look at her like she was a thing. "What did they do to you?" he muttered as he cut her straps loose. Her arms dropped. She couldn't move them. They felt like rubber. "Can you talk?" he asked gently. She tried. No words came. Only air and pain. He nodded like he understood. "It's okay. We'll get you out of here." He picked her up. She was too weak to resist. Her body leaned into his chest. She felt heat, real heat. Not the burning lights or sharp metal, but warm skin and heartbeat. She wanted to cry. But no tears came. The hallway outside was filled with smoke. Red lights blinked overhead. An alarm was screaming loud, fast, nonstop. "Warning. Breach detected," said a cold machine voice. Carter, she later learned that was his name, ran through the hallway, holding her tightly. She felt every bump, every twist, but she didn't care. She was moving. She was out of the room. That alone felt like a dream. 2 Korlak guards stepped out of a side hall. "There!" one shouted. Carter didn't stop. He pulled a weapon from his belt, stolen, probably, and fired twice. The guards fell. Liari didn't even flinch. She had seen worse. "Hold on," he whispered to her, ducking through a vent door that slid halfway open. He kicked it and squeezed through. A blast shook the floor behind them. "Damn it," he muttered. "They're calling reinforcements." He looked down at her. "I hope you're not heavy." He gave a small smile. She didn't understand the joke, but she didn't look away. They entered a narrow stairwell. Water was dripping from a broken pipe. Carter placed her gently on the ground and reached into his jacket. "I need you to drink this," he said, holding out a small silver pouch. She hesitated, then nodded. He helped her sip. It was sweet. Her throat burned, but her body welcomed it. "That's better," he said. "We've got maybe 10 minutes before they close off this level. I'm gonna carry you again, all right?" She nodded again. Still no words. He lifted her. She whispered, voice like wind. "Why?" "Help me." He paused. Then said, "Because I saw what they were doing, and I couldn't walk away." Her eyes widened. No one had ever said that before. The hallway ahead was dark. No lights. Just shadows. Carter took a deep breath. "Let's find a way out," he said that behind them. The screams of other test subjects began to rise, but Liari wasn't one of them. Any more. Not tonight. The cave was dark, but it was better than the lab. Carter had carried Liari for nearly an hour after escaping the burning Korlak facility. Smoke still rose in the sky behind them, glowing red through the trees. He found the cave by accident, hidden under a rocky hill. It wasn't big, but it was dry and quiet. Safe for now, Liari sat against the wall, wrapped in his old jacket. Her eyes were wide, watching every shadow like it might move. Her hands shook even though she wasn't cold anymore. Carter crouched near a small fire he had built. He didn't look at her, not yet. He just stirred the flames with a stick, thinking, "I know you don't trust me," he said finally, voice soft. "I wouldn't either." Liari didn't answer. Her throat still hurt too much, but even if it didn't, she wouldn't know what to say. He looked over at her now. "But I meant what I said. I couldn't leave you there." She blinked. Slowly, her voice came out in a whisper. "Why?" He looked surprised. "You can speak?" She gave the smallest nod. He leaned forward. "You asked why I helped you?" She nodded again, more firmly this time. Carter sighed and leaned back. "I don't know. Maybe I'm stupid, or angry, or just human." Liari tilted her head. Her species didn't know much about humans. Only that they were stubborn, unpredictable, and dangerous. Carter threw a stick into the fire. "I was supposed to fix machines. That's it. They brought me to that base as a tech slave, thought I was useful with wiring. I didn't ask questions. Not at first. But then I saw what they were doing to you and the others. It was wrong." He looked her in the eyes. "So I made a plan." Liari studied his face. His voice had no lies in it. "Just pain. You risked your life," she said slowly, carefully. He gave a short laugh. "Yeah, don't remind me." Silence filled the cave for a moment. The fire popped softly. Liari looked down at her arms. The marks from the needles were still there. "They used me like a tool. Like I wasn't alive." Carter nodded. "That's how the Korlak see people. Tools, toys, lab rats." She looked up again. "And humans? We're not perfect," he admitted. "But some of us try." He stood and took a step toward her. She flinched. He stopped, raised his hands. "I'm not going to hurt you, ever." She took a shaky breath. "I don't know what they did to you," he said, his voice quiet again. "But whatever it is, you're not alone anymore." She stared at him. For the first time, her eyes weren't full of fear. Only confusion. "No one's ever said that to me before," she said. Carter sat back down across from her. "Then, it's about time someone did." A few minutes passed. Liari reached out and picked up the cup of warm water he had given her earlier. Her hands barely trembled this time. Carter glanced at the wound on her shoulder. "You're hurt." "It's fine." "It's not," he said, and gently pulled a small medkit from his bag. "May I?" She hesitated, then nodded. He crawled closer, slow and careful like approaching a wild animal. His hands were warm and gentle as he cleaned the wound. "You're different," she said, watching him. "Most humans are," he replied with a half-smile. "But I've seen too much pain to add more." He finished bandaging her and leaned back. "There, not perfect, but better." She looked at the white cloth. "You used your own shirt." "It's just cloth," he said. "You're a person." Liari stared at the fire now. The flames danced softly in her eyes. "They called me Subject 41, he frowned. "You have a real name?" "Yes, Liari," he smiled. "Nice to meet you, Liari. I'm Carter." She repeated it quietly. "Carter." He looked out of the cave. "The night was getting colder. We'll rest here," he said. "In the morning, we'll find a way off this moon." Liari looked at him. "You're taking me with you?" Of course, he said like it was obvious. But, I'm broken. He turned to her, eyes sharp. No, they broke your body. Not your spirit. She looked down, unsure how to reply. No one had ever said something like that before. No one had ever seen her as more than a test subject. She lay down near the fire, her body still sore. Carter stayed awake, watching the cave entrance. Holding a weapon in one hand. Just before sleep took her, Liari whispered, "Thank you." Carter didn't answer. But his smile in the firelight said everything. The air tasted like metal. Smoke drifted between the trees, carrying the scent of burning wires and scorched flesh. In the distance, the Korlak base was falling apart, walls exploding, ships crashing, alarms screaming like wild beasts. Liari watched it all from the edge of the hill, her eyes wide. Carter stood beside her, gripping a scanner he had stolen from the lab. He wasn't smiling. He knew it wasn't over. "They'll send search teams soon," he said quietly. "We have to move fast." Liari nodded. Her legs were still weak, but stronger than before. She was healing faster than expected. Maybe too fast. She hadn't told Carter yet about the other changes. They moved quickly, using the smoke as cover. Carter led the way, cutting through the tangled brush with a broken blade. Liari followed close, silent, alert. Every sound made her flinch. A cracking branch, a distant engine, even the rustle of her own feet. Suddenly, Carter stopped. He knelt and touched the ground. "Here," he whispered. "Power lines, underground." Liari blinked. "Power, out here?" He nodded. "There's a second facility nearby, smaller, hidden." She stepped closer. "Another lab? Maybe. Or a backup station. Either way, it has a comms tower. We can use it to call for help. Won't they track the signal?" Carter smirked. "Not if I reroute it through their own security grid. Use their system against them." She looked at him differently now. He wasn't just brave. He was smart. "Let's go," she said, her voice steady. They followed the buried cables downhill. The smoke faded behind them, replaced by thick vines and humming bugs. After an hour, the trees opened into a clearing. There it was, a metal bunker. Half covered in moss and vines, small, quiet. Deadly. Carter crouched beside a fallen tree and studied the entrance. "No guards," he whispered. "That's suspicious." Liari reached out. Her fingers brushed the air. "It's shielded," she said. "Energy net, invisible, very thin." He raised an eyebrow. "You can feel that?" She pulled her hand back. "I don't know how. I just can." He didn't question it. "That's good. Means you're changing." She didn't answer. He took a deep breath and pulled a small device from his belt, a spark grenade. "This will short the field for 10 seconds. We get in, close the door, and hope no one's home." Liari gave a slow nod. He threw the device. It hit the grass, popped, and sent out a crackling wave. The air shimmered. The invisible wall flickered. "Now!" Carter yelled. They ran. Inside, the air was colder. The walls were white and too clean. A soft hum filled the hallway. Lights glowed softly on the floor. Liari's breath caught. It felt like the lab, the same silence, the same smell. Carter noticed her frozen feet. "Hey," he said gently, "we're not here to be caught. We're here to fight." She nodded, swallowing the fear. They moved room to room, some filled with crates, others with old machines. But then they found it, the control chamber. Screens lined the wall. Data streamed in alien code. A tall chair faced a command board, empty. Carter rushed to the console. "Cover the door," he said. Liari stood guard, eyes scanning. Carter's fingers flew across the controls. "Okay, power grid active. Comms system on standby. Encryption key found, yes." He smiled for the first time in hours. "I'm sending a distress signal to the human border station. If they get it, they'll come." Liari turned. How? Long? Minutes, maybe more. Depends if anyone's listening. Suddenly clang. A loud metallic sound from outside the room. Liari spun around. They're here. Carter stood up. Lock the door. She slammed the panel. The door hissed shut just as something crashed into it from the other side. Carter, what now? We stall. A red light flashed above the console. Unauthorized. Signal detected, the system said. Oh no. What? They traced us. Another boom shook the hallway. A dent formed in the door. Liari backed up. Her hands glowed faintly soft light, like sparks under her skin. Carter saw it. Liari. What are you doing? I don't know, she whispered. But it's happening again. Her hands trembled. The light grew. Get back. She shouted. He dove behind a crate. Liari raised her arms. The door exploded inward. A Korlak soldier charged through. Liari screamed, but not in fear. A wave of force shot from her body, hitting the Korlak like a crashing wave. He flew back, smashed into the wall, and didn't move. Silence. Liari collapsed. Carter rushed to her. Liari? She opened her eyes slowly. I didn't mean to. He looked at her hands. Still glowing. You're not a test subject anymore. He said quietly. They made you into something else. She didn't answer. Behind them, the console beeped. Signal received, it said. Help is coming. The sun never rose on this moon. Instead, a soft green light glowed from the trees that weren't made of wood, but of smooth, twisting vines with crystal-like leaves. The ground was soft like ash, and the air was filled with floating sparks that shimmered but gave no heat. Liari had never seen a place like this. Not in memories. Not even in dreams. She walked slowly, bare feet sinking into the mossy floor. Carter walked beside her, quiet, holding his weapon low. The bunker was far behind them now. The Korlak had stopped chasing for now, but the forest felt wrong. It was too still. No birds, Carter said suddenly. Liari looked at him. No sounds, he continued. No bugs, no animals. It's like the forest is watching us. Liari nodded. It is. He raised an eyebrow. How do you know? She looked ahead, her eyes glowing faintly again. I can feel it, like the walls in the lab. Like the force field, something here remembers pain. Carter said nothing for a while. Then, that's not creepy at all. They kept walking. It was hard to tell time here. The light never changed. There was no wind. The trees never moved. But Liari's power was changing. Carter noticed it. She didn't sleep anymore. Her wounds had fully healed. Her steps were stronger, lighter. She could sense things before they happened. Like when they avoided a camo drone hidden in a route, or when she guided them away from a poisoned mist trail. She was becoming something more. They stopped at a strange tree that looked melted. Its bark shimmered like metal. Dozens of strange objects hung from its branches, broken helmets, torn clothing, empty weapons. Carter stared at it. Is this a grave? Liari shook her head slowly. A memory. He frowned. Come again? This forest grows from what was left behind, she said. It absorbs pain, fear, death. It grows around things that don't belong. That's why there are no animals, only echoes. Carter looked around. Now he saw it. Scattered around the base of trees were bones. Some small, some massive, some not human, not even close. Some glowed faintly like they had never rotted. Liari stepped closer to the tree. I know this place. You've been here? No, but part of me has. He stepped up beside her. Liari, what did they do to you? She didn't answer right away. Her fingers touched one of the hanging helmets. They didn't just hurt me, she whispered. They put things inside me, DNA, memory strands, fragments from other species. They tortured. They were trying to create a living weapon, with many minds. Carter felt a chill crawl down his back. Do you remember being someone else? Not fully, she said. But sometimes I see flashes, a soldier screaming, a mother crying, a child begging. I don't know if they were real or if they're part of me now. She dropped the helmet. It landed without a sound. Carter reached out and touched her arm. You're still you. I don't know who that is anymore. You're Liari. You care. You protect. You're brave. That's who. She looked at him, eyes wide. You really believe that? I wouldn't still be walking beside you if I didn't. They kept moving, deeper into the forest. Hours or maybe minutes passed. Time made no sense here. Then, without warning, Liari stopped. She held up a hand. Carter froze. What is it? She didn't answer. Then, a whisper, not a voice. A presence. They found us, she said quietly. Before Carter could react, a blast lit the sky behind them. Fire, smoke, a Korlek. Scout ship had broken through the forest shield. Carter grabbed her hand. Run! They ran through the twisting vines. The ground shook. A metal beast crashed through the trees behind them. 4 legs, glowing eyes, blades for feet. A hunter drone. Carter yelled. It's fast, Liari said, looking back. It's not faster than you, he said. She looked at him. What do you mean? You're not like them anymore, Liari. Use it. She hesitated. Her hands sparked. Her skin began to glow. Carter pushed her forward. I'll hold it off. Go. But Liari didn't run. She turned. The drone charged at her. She raised both hands and screamed. A blast of energy burst from her body, throwing the drone backwards into the trees. It slammed into the memory tree and shattered into metal shards. Carter stared, mouth open. Liari dropped to one knee, panting. You're incredible, he whispered. I'm scared, she said. The more I use it, the more I feel like I'm losing myself. He knelt beside her. Then let me help you stay you. She looked at him, breathing hard. Then slowly she nodded. In the distance, more engines hummed. Carter stood. They'll keep coming. Liari rose beside him. Her glow dimmed. Liari woke in the middle of the night without moving. She didn't breathe. She didn't blink. She just listened. Carter was asleep beside the cold fire, curled up in his jacket, one arm resting on his weapon. His face looked peaceful. He trusted her to keep watch, but Liari couldn't sleep. Not anymore. She stared at her hands in the dark. They glowed faintly, just under the skin, like a quiet fire waiting to rise. It didn't hurt. That was the problem. It felt natural now, like it was always there. She stood and walked to the stream near their camp. The water was clear, shining under the glowing vines above. She knelt and looked at her reflection. Her eyes weren't the same. The color had changed, no longer violet, but shifting between silver and blue, like stars trapped in her gaze. She placed her hands in the water. Steam rose. She pulled them back quickly. What am I becoming? She whispered. You're evolving, came a voice behind her. She spun around. Carter stood there, watching her. He had woken silently. Liari looked down, ashamed. I didn't mean to wake you. I wasn't really asleep, he said, stepping closer. I could feel the forest getting warmer. She hugged herself. I don't feel like myself anymore. He tilted his head. Then who do you feel like? She didn't answer right. Away. Like someone else is watching through me. Like I know things I've never seen. I moved faster than I should. My body healed wounds that should have killed me. And when I touched that tree yesterday, I saw 1,000 deaths in a second. Carter sat beside her, resting his arms on his knees. I don't think they just experimented on you, he said slowly. I think they created you. Her head turned sharply. You said they mixed DNA, right? Memory strands from other species? She nodded. Then maybe you're not just a weapon. Maybe you're a map. A map? She asked. A living record. Of every race they hurt, every soul they broke. You remember because you're carrying what they wanted to erase. Liari stared at him. Then, why am I still sane? You're stronger than they thought, he said. That's why they feared you. Suddenly, Liari gasped and clutched her chest. Liari! Her knees hit the ground. Her skin pulsed with bright light. Veins lit up across her arms like fire. Carter moved to help, but she held out a hand. No, don't touch. Me, he stopped. Her body shook. Her fingers clawed the dirt. Her head fell forward. Eyes closed. And then it stopped. She fell still. Carter waited. Then. She stood, but her expression was different, calmer, stronger. Liari? He asked carefully. She turned to him. I'm here. But something inside me opened. He watched her. What do you mean? She raised her hand. A small orb of glowing light formed above her palm. It pulsed gently like a heartbeat. This isn't just power. It's memory. Lives, knowledge. She looked at him with eyes that seemed older than the stars. I know where the central Corlec lab is. The one where it all began. Carter's heart pounded. You saw it? I didn't just see it. I was born in it. Silence fell between them. Carter, she said softly. There are others like me. Not as stable, not as lucky. If we don't stop the core lab, they will suffer worse than I did. He stood. Then let's burn it down. She shook her head. Not just burn it, free them, destroy the data. Break the machine, forever. Carter nodded slowly. All right, we do it your way. She stepped toward him. You're not afraid of me? He smiled faintly. Of course I'm afraid of you. But I'm more afraid of a world that lets this happen again. She let out a shaky breath. Then, without warning, she hugged him. Tight, he blinked. Okay. You remind me I'm still real, she whispered. He hugged her back. A new fire lit in the sky above the trees. A Corlac scout drone hovered. Blinking red, Liari's eyes narrowed. She lifted her hand and with a flick, sent the orb flying. It struck the drone and it vanished in a flash of white light. Carter stared. You didn't even move. Liari looked at her hand. It's starting. I don't know how long I'll be in control. Then we don't wait, he said. We take the fight to them now. She nodded once. Behind her, the water in the stream steamed again. Ahead of them, deep inside the moon's far side, was the place she was made, and it was time to go back. The sky split open. Liari looked up. A black ship the size of a mountain hovered above the forest. It made no sound, but the air grew heavy. Trees bent. The ground shook. Even the light from the glowing vines dimmed like they were afraid. Carter stepped beside her, his rifle ready. That's not a scout, he said. That's a warship. Liari didn't move. Her eyes locked onto the ship's long, sharp body covered in blinking lights and long cables. It looked like a living beast made of metal and hate. It's the source. She whispered. That ship is part of the lab. It's the heart of the machine. How did it find us? They didn't, she said. They followed me. I'm the signal. Carter's grip tightened on his rifle. Then they want you back. Liari slowly turned her head toward him. Then they'll have to kill me. To take me. Suddenly, a loud thunk echoed through the trees. Something large crashed into the ground. A drop pod. Another, then another. All around them, the forest lit with red lights as soldiers in dark armor poured out. Corlac hunters, silent, merciless. They didn't speak. They didn't think. They only followed orders. Carter backed away, pulling Liari by the arm. We can't fight all of them. No, she agreed. But we don't have to. She raised her hands. The ground pulsed. The forest responded. From the trees, vines moved fast, sharp, alive. They grabbed one hunter by the leg and pulled him into the shadows. Another was crushed by falling roots. A third was stabbed by a branch. That grew from nothing. Carter stared. You're doing that? No, Liari said, her voice strange. The forest remembers. It fights for those who carry its pain. She fell to her knees. Carter caught her. You okay? I'm holding too much, she gasped. Too many voices. Too many powers. It's tearing me apart. He placed his hand on her back. Don't push, we need to fall back. No, she said. We finish it here. The ship is the source. I can feel it. If I get close enough, I can shut it down. How? She looked at him, eyes glowing bright. Because I'm connected to it. I'm their mistake. I'm their back door. More drop pods slammed into the ground. The forest couldn't hold them forever. Carter helped Liari stand. Then we go straight into the heart. Together, they ran. Through fire, smoke, and screaming trees, they dodged energy blasts and charging. Soldiers. Carter fired when he had to, hitting marks with sharp precision. But Liari was faster now, moving like light, like air. She barely touched the ground. Finally, they reached the clearing. The ship had lowered a ramp. At the top stood something different. Not a soldier. Not a machine. A tall figure with a cloak of dark wires, a face like stone, and burning yellow eyes. The architect. Liari whispered. Carter raised his gun. That's the one who made you? Yes, she said. That's the one who broke me. The architect raised a hand. The air shimmered, and Liari dropped, screaming. She clutched her head. Carter stepped in front of her. What are you doing? To her. She is property, the architect said, voice deep and cold. You were a glitch. She will be corrected. Carter fired. The bullet stopped midair. The architect waved a finger, and Carter flew backward, smashing into a tree. He groaned, dazed. Blood on his lip. Liari stood slowly. Her hands glowed so brightly now. Her skin looked made of stars. I'm not yours, she said. You are what we created. I'm what you can't control. She raised both arms. The ship juked. The architect looked surprised. You accessed the root command, it said. Impossible. No, she replied. I am the root. With a scream that shook the sky, Liari sent a wave of light up the ramp. It hit the architect, burning away his armor. He roared in pain. The ground cracked. The trees leaned in. Carter watched in awe. The ship began to fall apart. Its cables writhed like snakes. Its lights blinked wildly. Liari floated into the air. I remember every scream, she said, her voice like many voices at once. Every cell, every tear. You used me to build your empire. Now I'll use your creation to end it. A final flash of light lit the forest. The ship exploded quietly, beautifully like a dying star. Carter shielded his eyes. When he looked again, it was over. Liari lay on the ground still, her glow fading. He rushed to her. Liari? She opened her eyes. I'm still here, he smiled. You did it, she smiled back. We did it. Above them, the sky cleared. The stars came out. And for the first time since her capture, Liari felt peace. The battle was over. The ground still smoked where the Korlek ship had fallen. Trees were burned, broken, or glowing with soft green light. The forest was quiet again, but it was a different kind of quiet now. Not fear, not pain, just stillness. Liari stood at the edge of the hill, looking down at the broken battlefield. Her long silver hair moved gently in the breeze. The stars above her shone brighter than they ever had. Maybe because, for once, she could see them as a free soul. Behind her, Carter sat on a fallen log, wrapping a bandage around his arm. That's the last of them, he said quietly. No more drop pods, no signals, just silence. Liari didn't turn around. She was listening again, but this time, not to voices in her head. She was listening to the absence of screams. The peace after war. They're really gone, she whispered. Yeah. Carter replied. You ended them. She turned to face him, her eyes softer now. no longer glowing like fire, just normal. Beautiful, sad, I should feel joy, she said. But all I feel is empty. Carter stood, walked over, and handed her a canteen. That's what happens after survival. When you've been fighting so long, peace feels strange. She took a sip. The water was warm, but it felt real. Carter, she said quietly, what happens now? He looked around at the trees. Now? We go home. Home? She asked. He smiled. Yeah. You ever seen Earth? She shook her head slowly. No. He raised an eyebrow. Wanna? Liari looked down at her hand scarred, glowing faintly, marked with memories of things not hers. Do I belong there? You belong wherever you choose, Carter said. But you don't have to decide today. Liari turned her gaze back to the stars. There are others like me, still trapped, still forgotten. He nodded. And now, you have a voice, one louder than any scream. She looked at him. I don't want to be a weapon anymore. You're not, he said. You're a survivor. A story and a warning. They stood there in silence for a while. Then Liari asked, What will you do, Carter, after this? He chuckled. Maybe take a long shower. Eat something that doesn't come from a tube. Sleep for a week. She smiled for the first time in days. He looked at her seriously. But I'll stay with you as long as you'll let me. She blinked. Why? You know why, he said simply. She did. She just wasn't ready to say it out loud. Not yet. Distant hum broke the silence. Carter turned, scanning the horizon. Then they saw a small ship rising over the hills. A rescue craft. Human design. They came, Liari whispered. Carter grinned. Told you someone was listening. The ship landed in the clearing. Dust swirled. A hatch opened. 2 humans in blue suits stepped out, weapons lowered, faces cautious. Carter waved. We're friendly, one of the soldiers pointed. Is that the signal source? They were looking at Liari. Carter stepped between them. She's not a threat. She's the reason we're alive. The soldiers looked unsure. Liari stepped forward. Her voice was clear. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to tell the truth. The soldiers exchanged looks. One nodded slowly. You're coming with us, he said gently. Debrief, medical, safe zone. Carter looked at Liari. Your choice. She looked at the ship. Then at the forest. She remembered the pain. She remembered the others still. Locked in cages. She remembered Carter's hand reaching out through fire. I'll go, she said. But not to hide. I'll speak. I'll stand. I'll fight only for the ones who can't. Carter smiled proudly. They boarded the ship together. As the doors closed, Liari looked out one last time. She wasn't a test subject anymore. She wasn't a weapon. She was something more. And when the galaxy learned what had been done to her people, it would never forget her name.